Is that all okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I work for a charity called Wild Welfare, and yeah, very excited to be talking to you all today. So, we all know the world that we want to see, and it's a world that is obviously kinder to its animals, and also a world full of people who are as passionate, but crucially also knowledgeable about animal welfare as we all are. But how can we achieve that? So today I want to talk to you about how we brought together animal welfare research and the application of that to improve husbandry practices in zoological facilities, and how we did that through the creation of a digital education program that we hope can really drive forward integral changes for captive wild animals and the people that care for them. So just before I go into the talk, just a little bit about wild welfare, who we are and what we do. So our vision is a world where every captive wild animal is able to thrive and live a good life. And we achieve that in a number of different ways. We provide practical support to facilities, including zoos, aquariums, sanctuaries, rescue centres, all those kinds of places. And we work to bring welfare to the forefront of all decisions made. We are very much collaborative. We know that condemnation is not going to get us anywhere, so we know that collaboration is key, and we really do use that ethos in the way in which we create long-term sustainable changes. So firstly, what is a welfare standard? So it's essentially a level of quality or attainment. It's a benchmark which can be used to measure against. Now, we at Wild Welfare have our own standard. It's called the Core Standard of Welfare Practice for Captive Animals, and it's based on Mellor's 5 domains model that we all know and love. Now, this standard helps us to identify and prioritise animal welfare gaps and opportunities. And this is the way that we always market them. It's very much a case of we're not condemning, we're not saying that X, Y, and Z is rubbish. We're saying this is something that we've identified. This is how we might want to prioritise it. Let's seek some solutions together. And initially, we developed the standard utilising peer-reviewed journals to ensure scientific accuracy and relevance. Overall, we cited 72 different papers within the standard itself, and then an additional 191 papers and 31 books, which we consulted during the development process. So topics that we looked at were things like welfare evaluation, animal cognition, management practices, all of those kind of things, and we use these to direct the standard itself. Now, we do frequently update the document. We are currently working on a 2023 version, but we are always looking at ways in which we can update the next version and things that we might want to change on it in the future. So we wanted to take this brilliant standard that we've got and we wanted to make it a little bit more accessible and engaging. And the idea we had was that we wanted animal care staff who work in these facilities to be able to utilise information from the standard to influence their daily care practices and therefore drive forward welfare changes. So the idea was to use this standard as a learning tool rather than just a reference document. And we wanted to really help animal care staff to take away an element of empathy for the animals under their care, as well as learning the science behind why that is so important. So we took the fundamental aspects of the standard to use as a basis for an educational resource program in order to reach and teach more animal care staff who we might work with. And we wanted to bridge the gap, so we brought in some experts to help us. We brought in the help of Dr. Louise Connolly and Dr. Heather Bacon, both at that time from the University of Edinburgh and the Jean Machig International Centre for Animal Welfare Education. And together we created a resource. We came up with this idea of jumping on the trend of e-learning, of these online learning platforms that really help to engage and motivate people in their learning journey. And we also wanted to utilise some of the principles behind humane education. Now, humane education encourages connections to be made. So, in this case, between animal care staff and the animals under their care. So, essentially, we want to really nurture compassion for people and the animals under their care. So, to create this base level of empathy and also to encourage critical thinking based on what it is that the animals need. And this isn't thinking about what animal care staff need or that they need to tick off in their daily routine. It's about really critically thinking about what the animals need and all the ways in which we can focus on those 5 domains to ensure that they can experience a good level of welfare. And then we wanted to make this really applicable to daily care activities that go into animal care. So Sorry, this is my sad slide. In our work across the world, we have identified lots of barriers to providing good animal welfare standards, and many of these can be addressed through educational opportunities. But we know that there's a few difficulties within animal welfare as a science itself because it can be intimidating, particularly to people who aren't necessarily scientist based. It is constantly evolving. I'm amazed at the changes that have happened in just the 15 years since I graduated from university, and catching up with those. It is based on research, but a lot of that research might only be available, for example, in English, so there might be language barriers there. And the people who care for animals on a daily basis, they might not have had formal training on animal welfare concepts. And we all know that these kind of elements, they can impact the care that an animal receives and ultimately the welfare that those animals experience over the course of their lives. So our solution was to create this positive learner experience through a comprehensive learning program. And we wanted to condense and standardize the scientific knowledge that we have within our core standard into manageable chunks of modular learning. And we really wanted animal care staff to be able to apply those concepts and species knowledge to their daily keeping activities. And this could be through changes in enclosure design, infrastructure and development, nutritional changes, all sorts of those kind of things. Enrichment is a favorite one as well. And ultimately, they can all add up to make a huge difference to an animal's well-being and ultimately drive forward animal welfare standards and care practices. So we put all of these components together. So the science behind our welfare standard, the accessibility issues, the desire to drive forward welfare improvements, and the use of humane education. Together we created a participatory learning program, and this is it. So it's called our Wild About Welfare Digital Education Program. If you do want to scan the QR code, then you certainly can, or you can check out our resources section of our website later on. But the idea behind this program was to provide accessible and engaging opportunities in which animal care fundamentals can be learned and then crucially applied. And through this, we can bridge that animal welfare knowledge and skills gap to ensure best practice and better animal welfare standards. So the program is completely free to access and it consists of 8 different modules listed here. Now, each module has 2 complementary aspects to it. So you've got the learning content, and that's in PDF format. And then at the end of each module, you've got a set of interactive quizzes. And this is to kind of test what's being learned, but also encourage a bit more critical thinking, asking lots of questions, and also to give examples that we couldn't utilize in the PDF. So for example, video. And throughout the content, we've got scenario-based activities and reflective questions to really encourage that critical thinking process and to give users an idea of how the application of that learning might look in their daily care routines wherever they work. So since launch in 2021, it's actually been used in over 70 different countries, which makes me very happy. And it's had over 23,000 downloads at the last count, but that is rising all the time. Now, what's really fantastic is it's also now available in 5 languages. So it's currently available in English, Japanese, Vietnamese, Bahasa Indonesia, and Thai. And we are working on more languages all the time. We've got Hindi due at the end of this year, if everything goes according to plan. But what's fantastic is that it's also being utilised in a range of different facilities. So academic bodies are using it as part of their curriculum in lots of places, from the University of South Africa to Sparsholt College in the UK and all sorts of different places in between. But then it's also being used on the ground in facilities such as zoos, aquariums, sanctuaries, and even conservation projects have been utilising it as well. So from the feedback that we're getting, and you can see this quote here from a program user in Pakistan, we are seeing husbandry changes being made as a result of the information within that learning program. And we're seeing that all over the world. You might notice that with the languages that we've chosen so far, they're all Asia-based. We are looking to expand that out where we can, but a lot of that does depend on funding, as you might imagine. So as we look to the future of the program, we are continuing to translate it. As I say, Hindi is next, and depending on funding, we'll have plenty more languages on the way. We are also in the process of finalising a refresh of the programme. So it was launched in 2021, but based on the feedback that we've been getting from users around the world, we have decided to update it. And this is just to open out the content a little bit more to sanctuaries and rescue centres and their unique challenges, and also add in a few more aquarium-specific examples and a few better video examples that we've gained since we initially launched. And that is due, hopefully, again, if everything goes according to plan, to be relaunched in July. We do also use this as a guided training model. So we go out into a project country, we stay at a facility, and we utilise this as a full learning course. And basically, it's really great fun. It's a 5-day learning course, and that utilises both theoretical and practical elements to just really make sure that the training has this holistic approach, essentially. And we are also undertaking a research project through user surveys, which users take before and after interaction with the programme. And we're hoping to just track a potential knowledge acquisition and attitude shift. And that's currently in its pilot stage. So we couldn't achieve any of what we do without the support of all of the donors listed here. So obviously their financial contributions and support really do help us to be there for more animals in need, and obviously the people who care for them. That was a real whistle-stop tour. I'm very conscious of time, so thank you so much for listening to the story of how we've taken animal welfare research and really worked to create real tangible impact for captive wild animals through our online learning programme. Obviously, a massive thank you to the Global Synergy team for inviting me to speak today, and thanks to everyone for listening. But if anyone's got any questions, then please do feel free to fling them my way.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a really positive, lovely whistle-stop talk, but still fantastic. You've actually already got quite a few questions in the chat, so I'll try to get through a couple of them.
Okay.
Samantha asked, is the learning program being used in wildlife preserves with more free-ranging, free-roaming wildlife?
Yeah, I believe it is. So it can be used anywhere, anywhere where humans have this interaction with animals. I do know of a conservation project in Kenya that's currently using it as part of their, in two ways, as part of their kind of capture process. With the work that they do in the conservation of an antelope species, but then also in the educational learning outreach that they do themselves, they're utilizing it that way as well. So it can be used wherever you like, really, wherever there's animals and humans interacting.
Well, I guess leading on from that one, Xiao's asked, is there any interest from China? Zoo animal welfare problems are attracting much more public attention now.
We are looking at the potential to translate this into Mandarin. It's something that we are looking at. It's something that we would need to, there's a few elements that we need to figure out, because obviously we might have to host it in different places and advertise it in different places as well. But it is something that we are potentially looking into. We do base some of our language choices on project contacts as well. So we do work around the world, and that's been some of the reasons behind some of the languages that we've chosen so far. And yeah, Mandarin would be another one that we'd like to look into more, and hopefully develop some of those contacts to be able to utilize the program as well.
That's fantastic news. I'll squeeze one more in, and then I'm afraid you'll have to, if you're able to, go on the chat and see if you can engage with more. But Sophia says it's really great work. She knows it's aimed towards care staff, but have you had researchers engage with the program? And how did you get them interested in it as well as care staff? If you don't, then how do you think you could get them interested?
That's a really great question, and that's one that we haven't really looked into yet. So the area that we work in is primarily within captive care. So that is our primary. All the contacts that we've got are utilised that way. Whenever we do launch a new language, we do get the news of it out to press releases. So if researchers do find it that way, then that would be great. But I haven't had in any of the feedback that we've got, and we've got about 40 pages worth of feedback now, that anyone who works in a rescue a laboratory setting, our research has actually gotten in contact with us that way. That's not to say that that hasn't happened, but it's certainly not to my knowledge. And it's something that we would definitely love to see. A lot of this can certainly be applied to different environments, but we are basing it around this this kind of environment that we work in within captive care, in zoo sanctuaries, those kind of places. But it's certainly applicable in lots of different ways.
Okay. Well, like I said, Sarah, I'm going to stop with the questions there, although I would love to ask you more, even myself. But thank you so much for your lovely presentation. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to hand back over to Kate.